The listener will no longer be denied. Bigger, better sound. Boom. SVG 1069 FM.
You're on Ike TV, okay? So you have on your TV face.
Understood.
Okay, good. You're on Ike TV.
With no makeup.
With no makeup.
Every time I hear you on the radio saying how sexy you are, Bing, I
am.
say you have a face and a body built for radio. So I don't know why you brought the camera in here to spoil it.
I'm sexy. Come on, the ladies say I'm sexy.
Camalo has not seen you on Ike TV. We just showed off and fettered in here during the camera. We have to bring him back during the concert series next carnival, and then he could see a real party.
A real sexy man. A real sexy radio man. Camalo, let me jump off. I'm going to start it off this morning, all right? Thank you very much for being here.
No, man. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoy it, because Stephen can be a disgusting human being at times, all right?
I'll tell you after if I enjoy it.
All right. Let me start it off. Your number one image, Camalo, is that you're the son of Ralph Gonsalves, current Prime Minister. Are you a chip of the old block, as they would say?
I don't know. Obviously, he's my father, and we share some traits, and I think I sat at his knee and learned a lot from him growing up. I was always around him. Even after my parents got divorced, I was living with him. So he's had a huge influence on my life. But as much as I'm my father's son, I'm also my mother's son.
Okay.
So we have...
a good lady, yeah?
Excellent lady.
Class lady.
Best in the world. So we have... I have a lot of him in me. But I don't think I'm a carbon copy. I don't think that at all.
Okay.
So yeah.
So those folks who say that you're just another Ralph Gonsalves and you bring nothing new to the table, how do you answer that?
Well, first of all, being Ralph's son, and he's such an outsized personality. I've been dealing with that my whole life, even before he got into politics. But I think that I do bring different things. I think we have differences on perspective. We grew up in different times. We grew up in different circumstances. With difference in emphasis. There's some things that he might emphasize that I would emphasize differently. And differences in approach. He's much more of a bare knuckle sort of combatant than I am.
Style politics.
Yeah, he has a different style, and I try to find consensus and listen to people in a different way. Not to say that he doesn't listen to people, but I think we have different approaches to things. So it's but the core issues, what we consider important, our vision, things that we want to do to develop the country, and there's very little space between us. We're very similar in that regard, but we have different personalities.
Camalo, I have a passion for the last couple of weeks that I've been on about the rule of law and order in our country. I'm very deeply concerned. And a specific example I would raise is what is going on in my constituency and your constituency. And I'm not sure exactly where the boundary markers is, but I think West St. George, that particular part of Annisville, maybe we're well in West St. George. But there's something going on in the Annisville stretch there, where people were given a license, I believe, to open a general hardware store.
Yes.
Light hardware store.
Yes.
People were given permission to open a car parts store. These people have now decided to go into the parts business, into the food business. So I want you to tell me, why is it wrong for Marcus de Freitas, and I agree when your father shut down Marcus de Freitas on Murray's Road because he was selling cement dust in an area where there were school children.
Yes.
Why is it now right for General Hardware to be selling cement? Okay?
Selling cement
in an area of a residential neighborhood where they're also selling fried chicken. And that's before I get to the part later, because I want to follow this up about noise and enforcement of the law in the country. I've spoken to the Prime Minister about it, and I will speak about this every single day until something is done. There's a 10-year-old child there, Camilo. You have a child, I have a child, young child.
Yes.
There's a 10-year-old child who can't sleep at night because of the noise, because we're not enforcing the Noise Act in the country. There is a 10-year-old child who's across from a barbecue pit at General Hardware.
Yeah.
This child is slowly being poisoned. If anybody wants to doubt me, go online and see the effect of charcoal smoke on human beings after prolonged exposure. This child will probably die of lung cancer in 20, 30 years, and we won't know why. I will know why. Why is it that your party, Camilo, will not enforce the laws in our country?
Well, on the first point, the different businesses being operated there, I don't know if I necessarily have enough information to say whether or not they've received planning approval to operate multiple use, or whether or not what they're doing is outside of the planning approval they got. So I don't want to comment on that aspect of it because I don't know the answer. But I know the Strip, obviously, and I certainly wouldn't want to live there in the way things are currently being done. The laws, there are laws in place, and there's also, this is me putting my lawyer hat on for a second for what law I remember. There are also things that the individual, the parent of this child could do. Certainly if I lived there, I would bring an action under existing law because she has a right as a homeowner to quiet enjoyment of her property. And she also has a right to be free from nuisance. And both noise and pollution, I think is pretty standard, constitute nuisance. So she could, you know, I don't have all the facts, but I think that if she brought an action, she could certainly get an injunction.
She tells me, Camilla, she says, Stephen, my 10-year-old son, who's studying civics, comes home and he says to me, Mommy, I thought the government are supposed to protect us.
Yes.
How do you answer a 10-year-old child who says, when the government refuses to protect that child?
No, well, I think one of the ways that the government protects people, and again, I don't want to, you seem to have a lot more facts on this than I do.
I've spoken to the woman numerous times. I have letters, I
right,
have meetings.
So I don't want to go down the rabbit hole if I don't know all the facts. But what I want to say is that one of the ways that the government protects people is providing a body of laws and a judicial system that people can get redress from. And if she went to court and had a case, it sounds like she has at least the beginnings of a case, a judge could issue an injunction stopping that sort of business from taking place. And it's not everything that the government itself as the executive has to come in and deal with. I think that she could get a judge to issue an injunction.
Okay.
That's the first thing. I don't want to go too much further with it. But we live in a small area. I think we need to look more about zoning things into different areas, and businesses that are affecting community should be made. For example, if it's a smoke, there are vents and so on that can suck the smoke up. And keep it away from people. The noise is a different issue.
Yes, correct.
But in terms of this, I think that something could be done cooperatively on that front, but I think the law could help.
I'm going to make one more point on this and we'll move on to another topic. In East St. George, one of the gentlemen that owns one of these businesses in Atmosphere is keeping pigs in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Pigs.
Yeah.
He's having a pig farm in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Now, my neighbors have come and begged me, please speak about this, please speak about this. Public Health have come there, everybody has come there. Apparently, he's a ULP supporter. Is he getting away with keeping pigs in a... I mean, to be honest, if it's me, you see, when we go down this road, in my view, we are begging for people to take the law into their own hands. Right? And when Lance and Muffin do this kind of thing and have pigs in a residential neighborhood, somebody has to tell them right from wrong here. It is wrong to have pigs in a residential neighborhood. Why can't we stop this? And this is my last question. I'll continue with this every single day. But we need to do better than this.
I don't believe that there's anybody who is flouting the law because of their connection to the governing party or opposition to the governing party. Having sat in cabinet on this issue of pig farms, not on this specific case, for some reason, it is a lengthy process. I mean, this has happened in Arnesville. It has happened in other residential communities around St. Vincent and the Grenadines where people try to get these pig farms shut down, and it takes a long time.
But we do realize at some point people are going to... I mean, personally, if it was me, Camilo, I'm poisoning those pigs. I mean, I'm taking if the law will not protect me, I'm going to take the law into my own hands, and then everybody want to put me in jail.
No, but
at some point, people get very frustrated when this continues to happen and the law is not enforced. And I don't know what we have to do to get the law enforced.
I think that law is enforced in different ways. I think that people have a sense sometimes that every time they have to ask the government to do something. We have a court system and we have laws, and you go to court to get injunctions and get things stopped. This specific case, I don't know what the background story is, but I certainly wouldn't want a pig farm behind my house either. I mean... No,
the reason I could tell you about this, it happened to me one time, Literally right across the road, somebody had 2 pigs in the thing. And I tell you, I got so upset. But anyway, let's move on. Bing, my friend, your turn.
Okay. Camilo, before you came this morning, we were trying to figure out some information because today is the final day of registration.
Yes.
Do you know what is it do you need to take with you to get registered?
If you're going to register, my understanding is that you need your birth certificate and a form of identification. If you're going to transfer, all you really need is your voter ID from your other constituency, and some evidence that you've been living in this new constituency for 6 months.
Okay. Do you plan to stay in the East St. George constituency, or you plan to move eventually to your father's constituency?
Why would I do that? I live in East St. George.
You live in East St. George?
Yeah, I live in East St.
So no plans to move where
My
your
house
father
is in Ratham Hill, and as the mortgage reminds me every month, I live there and I'm bound to be there for quite a while. So no,
in terms of representation, I'm speaking about, okay?
No,
Not to live. Representation.
No, I am a resident of East St. George.
Do you discuss?
I haven't heard the Prime Minister. I've listened to him very closely in his formulation. When he talks about stepping down, he talks about stepping down as Prime Minister.
Right.
Not necessarily as a representative.
I don't believe that the Prime Minister has an intention of stepping down as a representative for North Central Windward anytime. So I could be wrong. I have not discussed this with him.
Okay.
But I don't think he's going
to.
Do
you discuss strategies with your father? What do you call him? Because I want to know. What do you call him? You call him Ralph, Dad, Comrade?
It depends on his
Daddy.
capacity. If we're talking about as family, he's Daddy.
Right.
But if we're in cabinet, if we're talking about business, he's the Prime Minister.
Do you discuss political strategy with him?
Sure, all the candidates do.
No, but you. So you personally.
Me being one of the candidates.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
I discuss strategy
privately.
with him. Sure.
Do you give him advice as well?
I do.
Do you tell him what's happening on the ground, what you're hearing on the ground?
Absolutely. Well, he asks that of everybody.
Yes.
You know, what are you hearing on the ground? He may have asked that of you, Bing. I mean, yes.
He certainly asked my opinion frequently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yes,
Okay, we got to take a station ID. When we come right back, and we're going to get into some bacchanal time.
Well, before we get to the bacchanal, I think we need to know who Camalo Gonzalez is.
Yeah, when we okay. So when we
then
come back,
we'll get to the bacchanal.
Yeah, when we come back after the station ID at the top, it's 8 o'clock. We do
Anything
this.
to stall the bacchanal. I'm good with that.
You good with that? You can handle it. You can handle it. You're a smooth talker. You'll get it wrong. All right, let's do this. It's 8 o'clock.
The listener will no longer be denied. Bigger, better sound. SVG 106.9 FM.